I'm just here to support my wife, who's very loving, and
he's like, yeah, I don't care.
So get out of the shot.
Welcome to This Thing Called Church. Today we are joined with two special guests. This is like we've been having guests lately. It's wonderful. Today we are talking college, and we are located in Davidson, North Carolina, for those who may not know. And we are actually, Davidson is home of the Davidson Wildcats for Davidson College. And so we are going to be talking today with Catie Holshouser and Cindy Turner. Woo! We're so excited. And you are also, this is even great too, because it's like, is this going to be couples therapy?
I hope not.
I'll probably be quieter today. So
You had to be on your best behavior today because, yeah. But she could tell some really good stories too. Like this could be the Kevin show.
we're talking about college for today. So
I know.
Let's get to that.
I know. Well, thank you guys for being here, for both of you to come out today and to join us. All right, so in the past, when we've had guests on, we asked them this random question from like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Would you go to Mars if you had the opportunity?
And leave your family behind.
Gosh.
Go ahead.
No.
You
Have
wouldn't?
you ever seen The Martian?
No.
No, that movie where he goes to Mars and then he gets left there and then he has to make crops on Mars and then goes back like years later. No,
No.
I don't think I could do
See,
it.
that's what this it was from Lost in Space.
I don't think
Was
we
it?
could do
No,
it.
no,
No,
what's
it's
the other
called
one?
Mars.
Was it?
Or it was, I
Well,
can't
Hillary
even
Swank
remember.
was in the movie. Remember when she went?
It
and
wasn't
left
a
her
movie,
family
it was a
behind?
series.
Series, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like Interstellar, where he goes to
Oh, yeah,
he
that's
goes to
horrible.
space and then like years go by and his daughter
That's
like
just a Mars.
Go-
It's
I
like
I
right
know
there.
yeah, but I don't. I mean,
You're
no.
young. You should know.
No, maybe you should go, Kevin.
Fair point. I am old, so I need that extra time. All right, I'm very interested
No.
in my wife's answer to that.
I
would
would
you
not.
leave your family?
I would not go. I would not leave my family. But I don't even like flying in an airplane. So
Okay.
the thought of being in a rocket, no, I would not do that at all, ever.
That was exactly my answer. I said my family is way too important, so I did not say I would leave
Absolutely.
them for 3 years.
Good answer.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'd like to go to Mars just to leave my family. So you know what? I'll send my family to Mars.
Oh, perfect.
That works.
Oh, that's a, yeah,
right?
it's a good
There we
workaround.
go. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah. And actually, so last night I couldn't sleep at all. And when I did end up falling asleep, I did dream that I was in space. I meant to tell you that this morning. Yeah, I was in a rocket,
Cool.
which is weird. So maybe it was some, like, thinking about this. Anyway, okay. So we are going to talk today about college, being a college student, being at Davidson College, being, you've got a unique relationship too with Davidson College. But let's start with Catie first.
Okay.
Put you on the hot seat.
All right.
Why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us what year you are and where, like, how you got, where you're from and where you kind of got involved in Davidson, and just give us a little tidbit.
Sure. So I'm from Charlotte.
Oh.
I'm a senior at Davidson. And so kind of growing up in Charlotte, it's kind of inevitable that like people around you in your circle know people who went to Davidson or went to Davidson themselves. So like my tennis coach from high school went to Davidson. My best friend's mom went to Davidson. My grandpa went to Davidson too. Oh, wow. So it was the first place I toured. And I think it was snowing when we toured. Like it was all very magical and very overwhelming. And so I think that kind of influenced me as I toured other colleges. So after ending up here, I'm studying econ and psychology. So, and I've been involved in Wesley Campus Ministry since I was a first year. Wow. And so now I lead it with Cindy. And I play a lot of tennis. I'm in Rusk, which is an eating house at Davidson, so kind of like a Davidson's version of a sorority. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Do you want it, and like church growing up too?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So I went to Myers Park United Methodist Church growing up, and Dr. Howell's first Sunday was my parents' first Sunday.
Oh, wow.
And it was the blanket ceremony. That was my mom's first church service, was the blanket ceremony that they do with the seniors. So they give all the seniors a blanket. And I guess I was 4 and my sister was 1. And my mom said that's the only time in her life she's considered having a third child, because she was so sad at the blanket ceremony. She was like, they're gonna grow up and they're gonna graduate and I can't do it. And so she said that's the only time she considered having a third child. Was that first Sunday at the blanket ceremony. So, and then Dr. Howell also married my parents at Myers Park Methodist too.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, growing up, we were really involved in church. I did, Bible carrying, acolyting, carrying the cross, and things like that. And I did confirmation in middle school. Was semi-involved in youth group. I did choir too, which was really fun and enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, I think growing up in that church made me want to, continue that church relationship when I got to college, which is kind of how I ended up in Wesley. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I had no idea. Did you know
What?
about all this?
A little bit.
Okay.
I
Wow.
mean, mostly, yeah.
Okay. Well,
I know about the blanket ceremony. I love a blanket.
It's nice. I still have it.
Do you really?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I'm sure it was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and I'm just going to jump in here because
Okay.
you had like this kind of low-key internship last summer. So tell us about what you did for your internship.
With the FDIC?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I worked for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So they do, in their division of risk management, and they do bank examinations. They have offices all around the United States, but they do bank examinations. So they take a team of bank examiners. They go into a bank for a series of weeks at a time, and there's a ton of different components to the exam. You're looking at like their capital and their earnings and things like that. But you're basically making sure they're operating sustainably, and that however they're performing, they can sustain that into the future too. And so I worked virtually. I was in Richmond, or supposed to be in Richmond, worked virtually, and lived in Chapel Hill with one of my good friends. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, for a virtual internship, like nobody really likes to work virtually, but they did a good job. I got to be in meetings with like CFOs and CEOs of kind of relatively small banks, which was really, really cool. I didn't really anticipate learning a soft skill of like when you ask a CFO or a CEO about their bank, you have to do it in a way that's not accusatory, because most of these people have been running their banks for 30 to 40 years. So if you flag something, they're going to be like, well, how dare? So you have to, that was a soft skill I never anticipated learning, but it was really cool. I don't really want to do kind of like investment banking, that side of economics. I really like the risk management and kind of overseeing everything. So I really enjoyed that.
That is awesome. And so why don't you share then what your plans are, because you're a senior, you graduate, what your plans are for that afterwards?
Yes. So I am going to get my 1-year master's in finance out at Claremont McKenna College in California. They have a partnership with several liberal arts colleges, one of them being Davidson. And so there's a program where you can apply to be nominated by the economics department at your school. And then if you get nominated and then accepted, you get to go, and it's a full tuition scholarship, which is really exciting. My parents are particularly excited about that. So I'll do that for a year. And then hopefully I have an offer to work at the FDIC after I'm done with that. But it's not kind of a firm offer, so I can kind of look into other opportunities too. But I'm excited. It's nice to have that all set in stone, and now I just hope that I get out there and I like it and enjoy it. So now that's the scary part. So, but I'm excited.
Welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
Almost. How was COVID going through school? Were you virtual last year? Yeah, Davidson was virtual, correct?
We were. So all my classes except one were virtual, but we got to be on campus.
Okay.
So we got sent home in March 2020 and finished out classes virtually, and then we were able to come back. And I was on campus for all of last year. It was really challenging. I think, we were masked everywhere except basically when you were actively eating or drinking or in your room by yourself. So other than that, you had your mask on everywhere. I think the only time I took it off was when I would walk on the cross-country trails, And then, when you see people, like, you put it on. But that was really it. So it was difficult. I mean, everybody felt Zoom fatigue, I know, but being in class for that long every day on Zoom was really tiring. And I felt like my professors felt it too, understandably. So it was definitely difficult. It was hard to kind of get to, hang out with your friends and kind of have any semblance of normalcy. So it was really challenging. But thankfully this year, I mean, it's almost all the way back to normal because most Davidson students and faculty are vaccinated, which is great. So we have a lot more flexibility. But it was definitely challenging.
Yeah, for everybody. Yeah, but especially college. It's supposed to be like the best time and so Cindy, you are a Davidson alum.
I am.
Which is awesome. So why don't you give us a little background, because I think everybody knows you as Kevin's wife, but you are actually, it should be more like everyone should know Kevin as Cindy's husband.
I agree.
Exactly.
So why don't you just give us some background on your path to Davidson, and then kind of what your role is now at Davidson College, because I'm sure a lot of people may not know.
Sure. So I went to Davidson College back a long, long time ago. Actually got here before Kevin.
Wow.
So,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, long time ago. And I was involved with campus ministry during my time here. It was a very important part of my life and helped with my own faith development and meant a lot to me, and got connected with this church pretty early on. And through the years have stayed connected with campus ministry the last couple years as a leader, but that's been about 3 years now. So yeah, for a while I was just bringing snacks. I was good at that. So I still do that.
And you still are.
Lots of Oreos. Yeah, so right now I'm the chair of the campus ministry committee, and I also co-lead Wesley every week with Catie.
Right. So Davidson College, it's called Davidson. Is it Wesley Davidson or Davidson Wesley?
Davidson Wesley.
Davidson Wesley. And is that part of the United Methodist Church program, the Davidson Wesley, or the Wesley?
Sure. So Wesley is a name that lots of campus ministries use around the country. A lot of United Methodist campus ministries use. Wesley foundations are found at a lot of larger colleges that are separate nonprofits that exist outside of a local church and that have their own board of directors and hire their own pastor. So we have, in our conference, we have 8 Wesley foundations at our big state schools. And there's a few Wesley foundations that, like in Winston-Salem, there's one that serves Wake Forest and Salem College and UNC School of the Arts with one pastor. Then there's some others that have different models. In UNC Greensboro, it's called Wesley Luther because it's a joint program with the Lutherans and the Methodists. At UNC Charlotte, it's called Niner United because it is the Methodists, the Presbyterians, the Episcopals, and the Lutherans, I believe.
Neat.
So it's a huge group. So it's a Wesley Foundation, sort of, but it's also lots of groups together. But you can find a Wesley Foundation at most large universities. So the name kind of came from that for our campus ministry. It's changed names over the years. I don't think we even had a name when I was here. It was just the Methodist Bible Study Group, I guess. And then it was called MCF for a while, Methodist College Fellowship. And then it changed names to Wesley about maybe 5 years ago. To just have a more identity that connected us with other campus ministries at different colleges.
And so can you share with like how often you guys meet and some of the things that you guys talk about or do?
Yeah. So we meet once a week. Cindy and I meet, a little bit more frequently than that sometimes, depending on.
Okay, let me interrupt. I'm sorry. So you are actually, you have a role too. So you are the campus intern. Okay, is that the official title? So
Campus ministry intern.
Okay, campus ministry intern, and you are the
volunteer leader.
Volunteer leader, right. So you kind of coach her, help her coach her.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm the campus ministry intern, which means I am kind of the student leader of Wesley. And then Cindy helps me a lot. So we meet once a week. We're a really small group. We generally always have been pretty small. And we kind of do a particular lesson or topic related to fellowship and things like that. Something we try to make it applicable to our lives as college students. Yeah. And so we usually will have some sort of scripture. Last semester we used lessons from Fusion, kind of a series of different lessons. Right now we're doing something with Lent. So it varies week by week. We really try to get topics that students would be interested in, and then also encourage them to lead too. So that's kind of what we do on a weekly basis. And we used to do, like my freshman year and sophomore year, we would do dinners, but with COVID and not being able to kind of eat together, now we're doing more snacks and things like that. So, but yeah, we've always been a pretty small group, but we have a lot more underclassmen this year than we have in years past, which has been really exciting. So, and since I'm the only senior, I'm like, okay, we will live on when I graduate, yay! So, so that's reassuring too.
Yeah, Davidson's tiny.
Yeah,
you know, it's smaller than Huff High School, so it's hard to have a huge group. But I think we were 5 or 6 students when I was there in the 90s, and now we were around 10 or so on a good night. So that's a really good size for us. Another important thing we do is our yearly retreats in the fall. We go somewhere in the mountains usually, or by a lake, and spend a weekend apart, and that's been really important for fellowship and community building, and I think that's a great thing that this group can offer to our communities.
Wow. I know. And you guys were just making sandwiches or something the other day. I saw, or last month you sent some
We do
pictures
service
of-
as well, randomly. We do as much as we can. We did make 200 lunches for the men's shelter in Charlotte. Later this month, we are going to be working in the community garden in Davidson.
Yay.
So we love to do that.
How did you find out about the group when you were a freshman on campus? Was it something that you knew about before you came to Davidson, or was it something you learned when you got on campus?
Something I learned when I got on campus. They do, as a part of orientation, I don't remember specifically, but there's a place for you to note like your religious affiliation, and then that's given to all the kind of religious organizations on campus so that they can reach out to those particular people who might be interested and, send them information about when they meet and things like that. So I think I must have just gotten something in my mailbox, and it, told me when and where they meet. And so I went over there one of the first times they met my freshman year. And I think I actually got there like way too early and was sitting there while they were talking about what they were going to, discuss that particular night. And they were super nice and welcoming. So it kept me going back.
Yeah, Rob Spock is the chaplain of Davidson College. He's been there a long, long time and does a great job. And he does collect that list of incoming students. So I receive that in August of every year, and then reach out usually with a letter in the mailbox and a big Hershey bar. We found that works great.
Yes,
so
that's a good strategy.
So, but it's interesting. I think we have such a mix of students. Some who did grow up in the Methodist tradition, some from all sorts of different traditions, some who have no faith connection whatsoever and find us through friends and just hearing about us. So it's a neat mix of backgrounds, and we don't all come, with the same level of experience or in the same place in our faith journey at all. And that does lead to some great conversations.
It does.
Do you find it, because you grew up being in a Methodist church and you've been very involved while you're in college, how do you find being a young adult and being a Christian? Do you feel like you stand out from your friends, your other, like in society? Like, do you feel different? Do you feel like, what's your view on religion, or what would you say your friends' view on religion is? This, because we're always talking about we miss this gap, and I would love to hear, since you're kind of in that, even though you're religious, what your outside influences think.
I would say, in terms of do I feel kind of like I stand out from my friends or different, I would say not particularly. In my close circle of friends, like even my friends from home, I have friends who are half Jewish, friends who are not religious at all, friends who grew up in kind of a Christian upbringing like me. But I would say I have found people who, like Cindy, share similar values with me and my faith, and those people have really helped me grow. But it doesn't come up as much in all of my other friendships. I wouldn't say I really feel like I stand out. I also wouldn't say it's like a taboo topic where I feel like I can't talk about it even with people who aren't religious or aren't as religious as me. Haley Job who was the leader of Wesley 2 years ago and the campus ministry intern 2 years ago, has been somebody who she's kind of like my big sister. So I have always considered her someone I can really talk to about my faith. And I feel like I've grown in my faith through her too. So I have those people, but, and my other friendships, it's not like I can't talk about it. But I've really found people who I feel really comfortable talking about it too. So I would say it's both.
Mm-hmm. Do you come to our services too? Like, I know you guys have your meetings, and then I also know that, we have, do a lot of Davidson College students come to our services?
I would say not a lot. I come not as often as I should, but we do like where we read scripture,
right.
And
they lit the
things
Advent
of that
candle
nature.
in December.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And try to get them there more.
Well, and it's hard when you're in college. You have so much going on.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't go to church when I was in college, unless I went home.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't attending. But the fact that you're doing something weekly is probably more than some people do out of college too. So that you guys are doing. So you said you had what is the mission again of Davidson Wesley?
Sure. So our mission is to provide a church home and a faith community for Davidson students while they're here. So our DUMC wants to be a church home for students who are in college. So that's what we aim to be through providing this campus ministry to students, through providing this Christian community and support. And so our hope is that they will get involved here. And over the years, we've had students teach Sunday school, ring bells, serve in the choir, help with youth group, read scripture, serve communion, all sorts of ways that Davidson students do integrate into the life of our congregation.
Yeah.
And I think they receive a lot of benefits as well through that relationship with meeting people and mentors and having support here in town while they're here. So that's our mission.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And it's so well needed. And I mean, we're literally next door neighbors. We are next door neighbors. So Cindy, you are also on the Board of Higher Education and Campus Ministry for the Western North Carolina Conference. That's a mouthful.
I am. That is a mouthful. Yes.
How long have you been on that?
Just about a year.
Okay.
Pretty new.
And so it is fairly new. And so what is the gist, or what is the idea and the goal of that area?
Sure. So every conference in the Methodist Church has a board like this that oversees campus ministries within the conference. And since I've been a part of this, I've learned a lot about how all the different models that different places use for campus ministry, which are different than what we do. So within Western North Carolina, we have 8 Wesley Foundations and 5 United Methodist colleges.
Okay.
I'll try to name them. High Point, Bennett, Brevard, Greensboro College, and Pfeiffer.
Wow.
Are the 5 United Methodist colleges that our church conference supports. So this board allocates money and oversees the ministries at all of these colleges and Wesley Foundations. So, like I said earlier, the Wesley Foundations exist outside of local churches. So that's one way to do campus ministry. What DUMC does is a little, not unique, but more unusual, I would say, that we, as a local congregation, support campus ministry without an outside nonprofit. So that's what we do. So yeah, as part of this board, I've learned a lot. It's been interesting to see all the different models and meet campus ministers all over the conference and hear what people are doing and get support through that. So.
Would you say that some of your conversations have been about how do we get the college kids involved in church, and this, do you see the numbers dropping, like just like church in general, it just seems like numbers are. So is that something that you guys talk about?
So I've been on this board for the last year, and a lot of the conversations have been around COVID and the restrictions that campus ministries have had and how they've had to pivot and adjust and reimagine ministry within the restrictions of COVID. And it's been really hard. For example, UNC Greensboro, they have a lot of low-income students, so they switched gears. A lot of students lost their part-time jobs and maybe couldn't even come back, and they're operating a huge food pantry now. And so that's been a big focus of the Wesley Foundation there, is serving students in that way. Some numbers have dropped with Zoom, retreats and trips and events. That's really what drives a lot of ministry. And so that's been hard, but the ministers are excited to get back into all of that this year. So we see the energy coming back. Wow.
You've been really quiet over there.
Told you I was going to be quiet. Well, one thing I've been thinking about is just that Cindy's been here longer than me. Just want to point that out again. But what I've seen over the years is how this church, that's an advantage to be engaged in the lives of college students.
Yes.
And having that sort of incarnational experience of being with the person's students. And an outgrowth of that, I think sometimes people, if you're watching, you think, well, we never see the college students. But there is a return on the investment in a lot of ways. Catie might end up being a lifelong Methodist because of this. But we've also got lots of students that have come to ministry. And I want to say it's close to 20, maybe even over 20 in my time here.
Just from
our little group.
From our group.
Over the years.
Yeah.
And the last 3 people to have Catie's position are currently in seminary. No pressure.
Wow.
No pressure.
I know. And I just told you about my post-grad plans. Not exactly, but...
So we have 3 former Wesley leaders who are currently in seminary to become ordained, which is really exciting.
Which is a really, you hear these news reports on CNN or wherever that, the numbers of churches are dropping, but there's also good news here.
Right.
And the best part that, because I sit on the board of ordained ministry, so where Cindy her committee passes the students off that are getting ordained to us, we're seeing students now saying, we're excited about serving in ministry in different ways. And so the conference is now having to wrestle with, well, what does that look like if it's not a traditional, pastor of a church? How else can we bless ministry? And so Davidson's part of that, and DUMC is invested in Davidson. And so it's a really wonderful program that I think the church does. And I would say that if my wife wasn't part of this. That's kind of how we met, loosely. But she was working with the youth, and I was helping out with the youth. And so that's how we met. So,
love that.
And James Howell married us, too. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, yes, you have said, oh, my gosh.
He sure did. He hired you.
He hired me, yeah.
Wow.
So.
Yes, and we have 2 notable graduates through the Davidson Wesley Group. Glenn Kinkin went to Davidson and was involved in campus ministry with this church. Preston Davis is another minister. He's actually the chaplain of High Point University, and he was involved during his years at Davidson College. He was involved with our church through our campus ministry. That's just 2 of them. There are so many more, but it's exciting and a great legacy that our church supports this ministry.
That's really big. When you think about, because like you said, Davidson College is smaller than Huff High School.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that because it seems like it's so big in town. But is it 2,000 students?
Just under. 1,900.
Smaller than my high school, too.
Oh, my gosh. But yet to have so many involved in these kind of programs and going through, that's huge. That's huge. Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome. Good job, Cindy.
I don't do it alone.
But you do a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you could use some help.
Well, yes, I could. As I said earlier, I'm the chair of the Campus Ministry Committee, and that's our group of DUMC folks who support campus ministry in various ways, from bringing food to praying for students, to helping us with events. We do our big welcome lunch on the front lawn in August when students come back in the fall. So they help with that. They help with our Christmas programs and end-of-year parties and just all the ways we support students throughout the year, birthday cards, just things like that. So we are a small but mighty little committee, and we need many more folks to do a better job loving on our students. And so if anyone listening is interested, I'd love to hear from them.
Yes.
To get involved in our committee. We don't meet very often, we do a lot of emails, meetings. So
Yeah.
it's an easy committee to be part of. But if anyone has a heart for college students and campus ministry, we would love some help. For sure.
So we were talking a little bit before we started recording.
Yes.
And I don't know if you can share, but you were also talking about other areas for growth within college students. Can you talk a little bit about this? Because I think it's a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. Evan, our youth minister, and Brittany, our youth ministry associate, and I have been in conversation lately about the need for a new outgrowth of college ministry for students in our community and our congregation who are not Davidson students, but might be here, college age people who may be in college or not, community college, online college, taking some time off of college, whatever the situation is. We would love to start something, and conversations are ongoing now to get something going. We don't know exactly what that would look like or what that need is, but we sense that need for a community for these students who don't feel quite like there's a place for them right now. Here, they don't really want to be with the adult Bible studies just yet, but they are too old for youth group. So there's kind of that in-between time, and we sense the need for that, and we're hoping to get that moving too. So we need mentors and leaders for that. So a lot of great, exciting areas for growth.
That's huge. That's huge.
And I would say, I know this congregation, and some people might feel a little nervous about being around, but these college students come to our house a lot.
Yeah.
And they're
so
awesome.
fun.
And if you are in the congregation, or even anybody really, they need people. They just need people to engage with them and
Love them.
and give them advice. I mean, we all can learn from college students. They can learn from us, vice versa. So you don't have to be a professional youth worker or any sort of Bible scholar to do this.
No.
Just a coffee.
Yeah, I think a lot of people ask me why I do this, and it's, I'm busy and I have a job and all these other things to do, but and I don't think I'm meant to do it this way or for this long, but once I started doing it, I loved it. I couldn't stop. I mean, being with them every week fills my soul. It's an amazing community to be part of. It's such an important time in somebody's life. College can be a fragile time of faith development when students are laying that foundation for what their life's going to look like. So I see this as a really crucial ministry and an important time in students' lives to have strong Christians in their life and mentors to be there to help guide them. So I think it's really exciting. I don't have any theological training at all, so if I can do it, anyone can do it. We'd love some help.
Wow. This was really good. We really need, there's so much opportunity and growth, and it's not, like you said, it's not just helping them, but it also helps you too.
They're fabulous.
I know she's been fabulous. You've been wonderful.
10 more, just like they're just.
Each one of them. They're a pleasure
wonderful.
to talk with. It's been wonderful. Do you have anything else you'd like to?
No, I think we leave it there.
I know.
Sing a hymn and go home.
We'll have a big Cindy Turner email address for everybody to reach out to, and Catie as well.
Yes, please. We're not scary.
We're not weird.
We're fun. Well, Kevin's like,
Okay, they're awesome.
Well, thank you both for being here on this day, and for sharing your knowledge and experience. And thank you to everyone who was watching and has supported us. And we appreciate your help if you're interested in getting involved with college ministry. Again, like Cindy said, you don't need any experience, just your time. So thank you, and have a wonderful day. Oh my God, look. Oh, you missed it.
that's not scary at all.
Oh, you're looking at the camera.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to, right?
Yes.